sharing your perspective on NewsX World. We are shifting focus to more news coming in. We're now learning that Portugal's Prime Minister Luís Montenegro has urged Chinese President Xi Jinping for using his country's close relationship with Russia to push for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. This happened during his meeting with Xi in Beijing. Now, his visit to China is the first of a Portuguese head of government in nearly a decade. It comes a week after Xi Jinping had hosted a massive military parade in Beijing, marking the end of the Second World War, as well as the SCO summit. Present over there were Russian President Vladimir Putin, as well as North Korea's Kim Jong-un, and EU's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas had called it an autocratic alliance. Now, after a multi-day visit to China, he will head to Japan for a state visit, as Lisbon is seeking closer ties with Asia's large economies after years of no high-level contact. Now, US President Donald Trump's administration's tariffs have hit hard as it slashed Portugal's US-bound exports. Lisbon is now seeking stronger commercial ties with China, even if the European Union is accusing the world's second-largest economy of flooding the region with cheap goods and enabling Russia's economy at large. With us on the broadcast is Mr. William Yang. He's an analyst joining us from Taipei. Thank you for taking our time speaking to us on NewsX World. What do you make of Portugal's moves? We've seen contradictory statements come in from the EU foreign policy chief. European leaders have been quick to criticize the SCO summit that has taken place in Tianjin. They were also quick to criticize the large parade that was held, the fact that Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un were both present over there. So what do you make of this outreach by the Portuguese president? Prime Minister, I beg your pardon.
I think this shows that there are still some European leaders who believe in the ability from China to actually exercise some influence over Russia, because as they see as of now, they recognize the big influence that China has over Russia, at least when it comes to being the largest lifeline, economic lifeline to Russia, and also the most important provider of some of the important dual-use technologies and products that Russia needs to continue to power its war machine against Ukraine. So I think for some European leaders, they still see the need to at least nudge China, if not completely believing in Beijing's willingness to actually play a role in really leaning in and put some pressure on Russia to enter into a peace talk. But I think this also just shows that there is now a clear division and very little consensus among all the 27 member states of the European Union, and that's likely going to be a challenge going forward when Europe wants to have a united front to continue support Ukraine in the ongoing process of trying to enter into a very complicated peace talk.
Speaking of the war that's taking place between Russia and Ukraine, we've recently seen Russian drone and missile strikes take place in Kiev. The US President Donald Trump has reacted to these strikes, threatening sanctions against Russia. In fact, some of his advisors have gone a step forward. His Commerce Secretary, as well as close advisors such as Peter Navarro, have also come out and called for heightened tariffs, sanctions against countries that are funding Russia. They've pointed towards China. They've also pointed towards India. As far as this matter is concerned, do you think Trump will heed their advice, or will he focus solely on Russia?
I believe due to the fact that Trump personally wants to continue to prioritize the ongoing trade negotiation and also the efforts to try to set up a summit with President Xi Jinping. That's why he personally has been putting off or postponing the decision of also sanctioning China for both purchasing Russian oil and also providing support for Russia. And I think as long as the US did not begin to impose secondary sanctions on China, any type of sanction that is directly targeting Russia or other countries, including especially India, is likely going to only have limited impact because, as we know, China's role in this whole no limits partnership for Russia has become more and more decisive and important to allow Russia to continue to have the capacity to launch attacks on Ukraine while the international community is trying to push for a potential peace talk.
All right, with that, I would like to thank you for taking our time, joining us on NewsX World, sharing your perspective on these key developments.